We're going to call the October 3rd, 2024 meeting to order for the Curriculum Committee at 2:31 p.m. And the first thing we are going to do is please have a motion to approve the minutes from September 5th, 2024.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor of approving the minutes, please raise your hand.
We need a couple more.
So the voting members still not with their hands up. We have Antigone, Latrice, Sue. Do you have enough now? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm counting.
We got 10. We got 10. Yeah, that's good.
Okay, don't forget to count me. Okay, lower your hands. Any opposed to the minutes from September 5th, 2024? Okay, we're going to move on to new business. We will circle back to the old business in one moment, but we're going to go to our new business first. We have, can I have a motion to approve items 24-39 and 24-40, which is revised curriculum for C320A, early childhood, and C420C, early childhood. And I'm going to have, I believe, Allie say the full title once we get to the items, but just a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Second? Okay. Allie, if you could briefly tell us the title, I believe it's a title revision, so the old and the new, that would be helpful. Let me move my slide forward too.
Yeah, so we were requested by our entitling body, Gateways to Opportunity, to remove the Gateways credential from the title of our certificate and degrees. And that's because they're the ones that kind of award the credential. So our degrees are still aligned with the state recognized credentialing system. However, we've just removed basically any mention of Gateways since, again, they're the ones that award those credentials. So we just went from a very long title to a title that is just shortened and a little easier to digest and to say. So our level 2 certificate is now our basic certificate in early childhood education, and our level 3 is our advanced certificate in early childhood education. That's it.
And the level 1 would be what?
We don't offer a level 1. That's actually pre-college level.
Okay.
So I know some high schools may offer it, but yeah, that's it's pre higher ed.
Okay. Anyone have further questions for Allie? Thank you. All in favor, please raise your hand.
Okay, we have enough.
Lower your hands. Okay. Any opposed? Okay, those 2 items have passed. Thank you, Allie.
Thanks.
We are going to move on to items 24-41 and 24-42. Can I have a motion to approve the revised curriculum of C417E nurse assistant and the deletion of AHL 110 medical coding and office procedures? Just a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay, thank you. Is Peter here?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, would you
Would
like
you
to
like
present
me to? I'm sorry?
Yeah, please present these 2.
Oh, absolutely. So we are deleting AHL 110, which is a medical coding and office procedure class. This class was added to the NAS curriculum way back as an optional elective. However, we we don't have any success with this course. There's no interest. We have not offered this class in over 5 years. Very similar course is offered under CE, and students actually earn a certificate in medical coding and billing. So we really, there's no reason for us to keep this course at this point.
Thank you. And the curriculum was revised just due to that deletion.
Correct, just the deletion of the course.
Oh, and that being said, I did want to mention that I don't know if I have the if you look in your packet, the actual certificate for nurse assistant is only one course. And this would have been an optional elective, but the electives aren't even needed. I'm not sure everyone is aware of that.
Yes, correct. So we have several optional electives. For example, AHL 108, which is our electrocardiography class, EKG. That class is very successful. We were able to match that with a group of students that are thinking of working in acute care setting where those skills are required. So, there's a room for having optional electives, but those are not required.
Okay. Does anyone have any further questions on this deletion of AHL 110 and then the revision of the nurse assistant due to that deletion? Okay, all in favor, please raise your hand.
Okay, we're good.
And lower your hands. Any opposed? Okay, thank you very much, Peter. The last new item, and then please remind me, I have to go back and do the old business as well. But the last new item is, can I have a motion to approve 24-43? It is a new course, PHS 200, undergrad open seminar in physical sciences. A motion to approve?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay, thank you. Is someone here to present this? Would anyone like to present PHS 200 Undergraduate Open Seminar Physical Science? It's a new course. Okay, we're going to hold off on that one then till November, unless someone comes in the next minute or two. We're going to go to the old business, which is Stagecraft. Can I have a motion to approve 24-37?
So moved.
Yeah, thank
Second.
you. Thank you.
Second.
That is the deletion of SPE 135 Stagecraft. I think Dennis is here.
Yes, I am. Hi.
Thank you.
So
Could you-
this is a course that was created a good 15 years ago. And if my memory serves correctly, it was only run once to a very low enrollment. And we have not been successful in enrolling the class sufficiently to run since. In fact, we probably haven't even tried to run it in the last 10 years. So I think it's
Okay.
time to let this one go.
Okay. Any questions for Dennis? All in favor of item 24-37, the deletion of Stagecraft, please raise your hand.
Okay, we're good.
All right, lower your hands. Any opposed? Okay, thank you. That has passed as well. Thank you,
Thank you
Dennis.
very much, friends.
Okay. All right, I think we are through the items. So we are going just putting this up here so you know the deadlines for the next meeting if you have any items that need to come. So we are at the deadline for the November meeting, it looks like is October 7th, so Monday. And that would be the deadline for the deans to get it to curriculum. So if there's any items that need to go to the November, it would have to be maybe a day or so at the latest before that. So October 7th is when it's due to the curriculum office. One other item that I have, and then I'll see if anybody has any questions. I do want to share a couple of files with you. It'll take me 1 second here. So last meeting, it was May and in September, we had some discussion about what you're seeing on your screen right now, which classes were listed under which curriculum were listed under university transfer and which were listed under career programs. And this was causing some distress for faculty if they felt that there was a listing of a career program, but it did transfer, that some students may not understand that that is a transferable degree. So we had some discussion about it in May and again in September to try to figure out how this got compiled and how to update it so students know if there is a career program indeed that it may transfer. So in your packet, Susie has put a list. I'm going to pull it up in a second. Of all the degrees that we have, I should say all the curriculum programs that we have at the school. Just give me 1 second. I'm scrolling through this long packet. Okay, it's actually, I believe, page 92 of your packet, and you could zoom in if needed, or look in your files for your agenda. This is a listing of all the programs at the college. And at our agenda planning, we discussed that we believe this is the area where that previous slide I showed you in the schedule was pulling the information from, and that if it was listed as an AA or AS, it was pulling into that transfer area. If it was listed as an AAS, it was pulling into the career area or certificate area. So we believe that this is the list that it's pulling from, and Susie has an electronic copy of this in the catalog, in the Watermark system. So what we're asking people to do is to have the department chairs review this list, especially the ones in AAS. And if they feel that they have evidence that their AAS degree will transfer to a four-year school, to contact the curriculum office, Susie and I, and make a note like of what degree, AAS degree, will transfer, and then just provide some rationale or evidence of why they believe that that program will transfer. And then Susie could mark this with an asterisk on her database. And when that pulls in to the schedule, it will note with an asterisk that some of the AAS programs are may transfer to four-year universities. Those below will be marked with an asterisk. And the thing we need the committee to look at is what wording we want to use for those AAS degrees that may transfer. And Susie has two options, which we discussed in September as optional language to put with that asterisk. And you see them on your screen right now. So if a department chair indicates to us that AAS is transferable, here's the evidence, Susie will mark that. And then when that schedule populates for marketing purposes, one of these two sentences will be there with the asterisk next to that particular program. And so that may be, some programs may have articulation agreement with four-year schools that are marked with an asterisk after the title. If you have questions, contact the front desk, counselor, transfer center, or advisor. Or programs marked with an asterisk after the title may be transferable with certain universities. Check with the transfer center for official articulation. If you have any questions, contact the front desk, counselor, transfer center, or advisor. So two things would need to be done. We would decide on which language or a revision of one of these two options. And then we would have the department chairs review the list. And if an AAS is indeed something they want to be indicated as potentially transferable, they need to contact Susie, and then she'll indicate that and her end of the catalog. So it populates the marketing material properly. And Tracy had her hand up first.
I just want to make a note that counselors should be taken off of those. We are doing mental health counseling, and we're only assisting advising during open.
Okay. Susie, can you make a note of that? I think that's a reasonable request for the revision.
Yes, I have it.
Thank you.
Okay. And Panos, please.
Yes, hi. I would like to get a list of the AAS that we know we have articulation agreements. It's a rather complex process. I'll certainly work with the chairs to see what their perspective or their updated understanding is. But this is something worthwhile to have a transfer agreement page that spells out this works or does not, and we need to maintain those, right? The four-year schools, they're more than happy to get our students, but it's preferable to have something in writing that says, I have completed the Criminal Justice Administration Program Code XYZ, and Purdue in Hammond, Indiana is willing to take me as a junior with this remaining balance of courses. If we can get something like that, it's worthwhile to denote it. Otherwise, it's like, right, it's a very soft statement to make. And then, of course, if it doesn't work for any of these students, we're going to be liable for, right? I started this program because there was an asterisk that said there is an articulation agreement for this program.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so two things that, and I'll let other members of the committee chime in as well. I think two things are, we do have official signed agreements, and I believe the transfer center will hold them. So they should have a list. I believe they actually have a website with those on as well. And then the second item was, I definitely want the language that say may, not that it will transfer when we talk about the language up in this area. All right, those are just my opinion. I want to hear what other people have to say. So, Michael.
Yeah, well, I'm going to repeat what I said last time, which is May's not good enough. And it looks like you've gone a little before that beyond that with these options, because, maybe legally that would get us off the hook. We said may, we didn't say will, but a lot of students will think it means will. And, it's funny, since our last meeting, I was in a situation with dealing with something with the new adjunct contract where some people were taking may as will. It said, this may happen, it's always, this has to happen. And no, it may happen, but you're not required to do this. So I think that, we need something very, I just want to make sure the information is correct and that students know exactly what they're doing, and then they can make their own choice of whether this is something they want to do with all of the right information. And I think that our responsibility goes beyond just saying may instead of will. So, and I think that having a place like the transfer center, yes, I agree. Having a place like the transfer center that has all that information, where we would say, look, you need to go to the transfer center and look at what it is, and then find out if they're only going to take half your credits. You should know that. That doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. It just means you should know that going in, because that's where students get angry. If they expect to get 60 credits and they get 30. I don't blame them. I would be angry too. So again, my whole thing here, I want to do this. I'm in favor of this. I just want to make sure that, and I realize we don't want to book on there either, because people get their eyes will glaze over. So we have to be very specific. And I think sending them, telling them, here's who you go to meet with someone is probably the best way to go about it.
Okay. I want to add on to that because I was going to ask you what was the alternative for the May, and then I'll get to Antigone in a moment. But what if we struck the last sentence in here where it says, if you have any questions, and we put a sentence to some effect that says students should contact the transfer center for further information or something to that effect.
I would even go as far as need to, or,
Students,
or just tell them you should do this, and contact the transfer center to get the details. We keep the word may in there. It's just not enough on its own is all I mean, Julianne.
right. I think that last sentence needs to change then. So is should good enough if we said students should contact the transfer center for details?
I suppose might even go need to, or yeah, I guess should's okay. I'm okay with should. As long as it's very clear that, you need to talk to someone, and then if they don't have that conversation, I'm not feeling as bad because it said you should do that and you didn't. You just took it as on your own that you were going to get 2-year transfer when in fact that's not the deal we have with UIC or whatever we have to deal with. So
Maybe
that's my feeling.
Right. I agree with you totally. And thank you for bringing that up. Maybe something like students should contact the transfer center for details prior to beginning the program.
Sure. Yeah. Something like that, that so they've got the information and, again, I think we've got some really good agreements. So it's just, we want to make sure that students, this is really telling students, you've got to, you should look into this, and this is you shouldn't just do something based on what you think is going to happen. Students are going to transfer should also be contacting the colleges, and that's something else that I know the transfer center will be telling them to, make sure, go to transferology, all of that. Because I deal with students I know a lot about it because all my students are transferring, but students in other programs, it's the same thing. They need to take a certain responsibility, but I think we have the responsibility to direct them there very clearly.
Yes, I think so. Susie, I want that last sentence to change to say, strike the whole thing and just have it say students should contact the transfer center for details prior to beginning the program. And then Latrice mentioned we could put the link to the transfer center as a third portion of that.
That's a good idea because students now will actually expect there to be a link there, so we should give it to them.
Thank you. I'm going to have Antigone talk, and then we'll see which of the two maybe we like better. And Susie, once you revise that and send it to me, I can send it out virtually to the committee for their review prior to initiating that. But we still need to decide on one or two. Let's have Antigone go, please.
Hello. Having two of my own children, to be honest, having gone through Triton College and transferred on to university very recently, I can say that the general curriculum is transferable in and of itself is wrong, because I know that IIT doesn't take in the speech class. I've already experienced that. And they do reverse transfers. NEIU also wasn't the perfect fit. So we can't say that even the Associate of Science or the Associate of Arts is clean. I know for a fact it's not. Personally, working with my students, when it comes to math, for example, some schools will take Math 111, others will require the Math 110 with 114. So nothing is clean for anything, not just the AAS. So we should have a generic disclaimer. To be honest, I would take the words out. To presume that it's 100% transferable, I know is not true, because I'm personally experienced it and working with students, I've experienced it. So I would like us to not say that the implication that an Associate of Arts is 100% clean is not true. Neither is the case for Associate of Science. I would put a disclaimer across everything to say contact the transfer center, because people do need to know about transferology. They do need to know that universities change things without ever talking to anybody. We know this. And we shouldn't presume that this is in stone in any way, shape, or form. That's what I tell my students, and that's what
Mhm.
I told my sons, and it's true. I had them go backwards and forward and backwards both ways with where are you thinking of going, and let's go through the numbers of what really transfers so that you target exactly what courses to take. And
Right.
the goal of an Associate of Science or Associate of Arts wasn't actually in the cards at all. It was making sure that you took what you needed to take for transfer.
Right. Right. And that's the thing. We want those who know what they want to do. We want to identify that as early as possible, and then have them contact the transferring schools as early as possible. I think some of the degrees are meant for the people who are undecided as a good guide. But certainly we should make the students aware that as early as possible, look at the school they're thinking of transferring to. So potentially what we could do with that last sentence that we were talking about, students should contact the transfer center for details prior to beginning their program, maybe put it up higher or in both places where you see on my screen right now, it says programs of study.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we put the link there in addition to, or one or the other, in addition to having it in this area where it says career programs. I mean, we could put that sentence in both. You like it in both places better, Antigone?
Well, full disclosure, I mean, assuming we print these things and students can actually read this content, we need to do stuff like this because we have too much self-advising occurring out there. And students are not paying attention, and they are really working on the assumed model, and it's actually causing a lot of issues. We need to do this, and both places is good.
This is the area where they're seeing it in the schedule. Not I got off of the website where the database where Susie had listed all the degrees for a moment, and because this is what the marketing will be printed. So this is 100% bad, she said. So this area is where we could potentially put a sentence, and I believe if we put it under programs of study, but maybe above the titles of university transfer, we'd have to work with marketing on that. But where it clearly says students should contact TC for details prior to beginning any programs, with a link to the transfer center, and then yet still have the sentence about career programs listed under there. Those with an asterisk may still transfer. Let me go to Michael.
Yeah, I just want to chime in because I agree with Antigone. The AAS degrees are they going to be 30 credits that don't transfer? No, but I've seen people not get into where they want to get in because they took the wrong math course, and and that was someone who was just kind of making a certain assumptions. So it tends to be the detail work more, but those details are important. I want to see the transfer center so busy that they need to hire more people and give them a bigger place. So I'm going to be all for anything that directs more students to go there, and also we've got really great advisors here. At least the ones I worked with. I don't know them all. The ones I worked have been really great. Yes, I do, Tracy. I work very hard on that. I meet with them every semester, and that's the thing. If a student's plan just says I'm going to take business, and they're in their first semester, they're going to set up the standard business pathway. But if a student suddenly decides they have this really competitive school they're going to try to get to or whatever, they really need to meet again with someone, be it an advisor or be it whatever it is. Yeah, absolutely. Be it whatever, an advisor, or be it with the transfer center. So, this could be a starting place for, I'm not saying we can do this overnight, but this could be a starting place for something bigger and of us just getting better at preparing students. Now, a lot of our students, they go through and they do something fairly standard and they make a fairly easy transfer. So I'm certainly not saying This happens a lot, but it happens enough. And I think that this is really, I'm really liking what we're doing here. And I, think that this could be something that could be built on, in the future.
Thank you, Michael. I agree. So if there's no other comments, and certainly think about it, you could raise your hand after I make this last statement here. What we will do, Susie and I will revise those sentences that we spoke about, striking where you see on your screen right now, that last sentence where it says, if you have any questions. We'll rephrase that. Students should contact Transfer Center for details prior to beginning any program that they would like to potentially transfer. We'll make the words work, and then have the link for the Transfer Center. We could have that at the top of that scheduling page. So we'll have that at the top of the scheduling page, so it will apply to all the AAAS and AA. And then of the two statements that are remaining, we want to still include an asterisk for the AAS programs. So that was what our original work was meant to do, where we could put an asterisk next to the career programs in the schedule where it says so which of the two do we like better? Some programs may have articulation agreement with four-year schools that are marked with an asterisk. Please check with Transfer Center. Or programs marked with an asterisk after the title may be transferable with certain universities. Check with the Transfer Center. Which one of those two? To me, they sound the same. I don't know which one is better. I think Antigone said 2.
I agree with her. Here comes the English professor. Number 2 is much more direct language, and it's clear.
Is there any other input on that? I'm fine with 2 as well. Antigone was good with that. Anybody else? Panos?
Yeah, I suggest the final language should be congruent, if the adjective is correct, with what's in the catalog as it relates to degree and certificate requirements. The word transfer is sprinkled throughout the catalog. Some portions of it shows up again and again and again. And in some instances, it attempts to say, oh, a lot of these are transferable. In a couple of other instances, though, it says it's really up to the student to check with the receiving institution, right, the school they want to transfer to, what may work. My caution to sending them all that way is the receiving institution will look at the student that he or she has completed 15 to 30 credit hours, and then they're gone from Triton. So it behooves, even though it's a lot of work, for us to have bulletproof articulation agreements, however narrow they are. We're not going to be able to have that for all 4-year programs, but we need to streamline the process so that the few articulation agreements that we have signed documents with the receiving institution provide some assurance to the student and their parents or immediate family that, yeah, Panos is going to be at Triton. He's going to take his 60 hours, and then he's transferring as a junior to XYZ institution for another 60 plus hours for his bachelor's. Otherwise, all we're saying is we are a college, we're a course offering institution. Take a few things, prove yourself, and then you're gone. And I'm sorry for being so direct. I have experienced this in my previous institution. I don't want sending successful students to a 4-year school to find out, oh, yeah, they're successful. And then all of a sudden they're gone. We need to provide solid completion pathways leading to actual degrees that then transfer in their entirety to a 4-year school.
Okay, thank you. I do want at that moment to remind the deans and the chairs that are here that it is, in our area, we do this, it is our responsibility as chairs to ensure that as we are reviewing the degrees each year, which is required, that we're ensuring that we're up to date, the general degrees as well as those we have articulations with, to communicate with the four-year schools as well to make sure that it's still acceptable and re-signed if need be, if there are any revisions. I know we do this in our area. We can't guarantee that we're going to have articulations with every school, but those that are willing to work with us, we have to make sure they're up to date and the courses are the appropriate courses. And we mentioned that in the September meeting, that this fall we are reviewing all the course maps for our programs to make sure that that we have selected the right courses and none have changed. And when I mentioned to have the department chairs indicate to the curriculum office that they believe that their AAS that was listed under career programs should have an asterisk, that there should be evidence for that. So if there is an articulation in Transfer Center and it's completely signed, that's great. That's the most solid evidence we could get for the May transfer issue. And I do want to bring up, this has never happened to me yet, but my fear is a student will complete all the courses, not have very good grades, and then try to go to Dominican or Concordia and they get turned down. So I don't know if that's a possibility. It hasn't happened to me yet, but that's something we do want to avoid. Are there any other comments and questions then?
Well, just on that last part, just on that last part, Julianne, I mean, anyone who is, I guess this just should, I would hope this would be automatically part of it. Again, something I certainly really do emphasize, especially when students get, something they want or this is really the case. If it's a competitive situation, we can't guarantee anything. I've had people with straight A's get turned down, but they were trying to get into, really elite schools where it is super, super competitive, and it just didn't work out for them. So, so I think that's just something we can pretty easily take care of. And what you said about grades, I mean, that's got to be part of it too. If they will only accept an A or a B, then that has to be part of what we have for them. They will accept this course if you get a B or higher or whatever it is. But students going into a competitive situation, that's not something we have to guarantee.
Yeah, I know. It's
unless we have an agreement where it says we'll take all your students. Yeah. If they want to agree to that, then hey, sure. But that's not often going to be the case. So you just would hope that part gets across to them, that it's not automatic. They're not community colleges.
Right. Right. Okay. Thank you. Sue, please.
Great conversation. The only thing I would comment about, I think the purpose of this page is just to note to students of possible opportunities out there. And I don't want to I would not like to see 10,000 disclaimers put upon this. I think just directing them to the Transfer Center for further clarification, whether it be grades, will their courses transfer or not, I think that's really the purpose of this. And to Michael's point, we do want to encourage conversations going on in the Transfer Center because they may be finding out other important information while they're over there having those conversations. So I think directing them to the Transfer Center is the key thing here for further conversations and clarifications. I think that's what this purpose of this page is meant for.
Okay. Thank you. I do think
I agree with that.
Yeah, that's a good summary of where we've come to the point now. So we'll put under programs of study or somewhere in that area. I could ask the marketing department the best area, but students should contact the Transfer Center for details prior to beginning any programs with a link to the Transfer Center. And then we'll put the asterisk where the career programs are with a little title that says these programs, some of these programs may transfer. I don't know the correct language. It was number 2 that we chose though. So that's where we're headed right now. And then I could show that to everyone either virtually, or I don't know how quickly this needs to be done to get to the next print. I don't know if we could just review it at the beginning of November and then still have it for, this could already be printed for spring for all I know. But for the next possible print, we'll have it expedited.
That's almost certainly, I shouldn't say that. Who knows? I think we're probably looking at fall though, Julianne.
Yeah, I don't think we'll get it in for spring, but we're making progress, so that's
You
good.
could do summer.
Summer?
Yeah. For sure.
I'm looking here. I think Antigone's saying drop the titles perhaps and go to the transfer center language. All right.
What I'm suggesting is maybe instead of placing it in people's minds that the one column is university transfer programs and the other column is career programs. You know my personal opinion, it's all career, but that's another conversation. Maybe just eliminate the language and say these are all of our programs of study. Contact the transfer center to get details on their transfer agreements, and just eliminate the language of university transfer programs and career programs.
That's how they're parsed out in the catalog. According to the state and according to their program.
The state forces us to have to say university transfer programs and career programs. Is that a state forced requirement, or just?
Yeah, because the career programs they're parsed out in 1.2 PCS and university transfer are 1.1 PCS.
Okay,
Do we have PCS on programs or just on classes?
They're on both.
Yeah, they're in both. So we're talking about the 1.1 versus 1.2. So this is just history fighting us, because it's standard practice of the past that's hurting us going forward into the future, it sounds like.
Well, for marketing purposes, though, what I think Antigone stated, and I think Latrice supports that, is getting rid of the words university transfer programs and getting rid of the words career programs, but still having AA, AS, and then on the right side of the page is AAS or certificate. Is anyone opposed to that, or does anyone see a benefit for? I could actually see a benefit for people saying they might still want it to say career programs, but.
I guess for me, Julianne, and I could be totally wrong about this, what I've always thought of is, a lot of and I don't care if people want to, people who teach them want to call them something else, but a lot of what's called career programs are where you're actually, you can get a job with a lot of our AAS degrees. I don't know about all of them, but you can with a lot of them. And where our AA and AS on the job market is useless. The only reason to get an AA or an AS is to transfer it. An AA in English is absolutely pointless. But you can train, you don't even have to be an English major when you transfer. You can transfer, it's a good transfer degree. So that's what it meant to me, but I don't feel strongly about any of that. I'm just saying that's what I've always thought the distinction was.
Yeah, and if I'm reading this as someone coming to school who is not a curriculum person, I would see, career programs, that might be a draw for me just for the reasons you said, is I'm going to go there, do this, and be done with it. And not necessarily.
I think it's distinct. That's the distinction for me. That's this isn't something I would fight to the death with, but that's the distinction for me, is that it's, ones that are really kind of strictly for transfer versus ones where you could transfer or you could join the workforce.
Right. Mm-hmm. Well, we could think about this and start to initiate the 2 changes with adding the transfer center at the top, adding the asterisks for the career programs, and then still think about the differences, because I do see a benefit for having career programs listed there. I don't see too big of a drawback but that's me. We could discuss this further in November if need be on that third potential change with would be eliminating these titles. I don't want to eliminate something that would benefit a student thinking they want to go into that particular career. So let's just wait on that and still ponder that last part, but we'll move forward with the initial two parts. Anyone else have a comment on those? Okay, those were all the items we had today. Does anyone want to bring up anything else? We have about 15 minutes left of the hour that we typically schedule. Okay, I think at this point, what I can say is we do have some items for November already on the agenda. If anyone has any other items that they do want to add to the agenda, they could let Susie and I know. I don't know if I've ever said that verbally, but it's assumed now I'm saying it verbally. If you do have something you want to discuss at our curriculum meeting that would entail any part of a curriculum discussion, we would be happy to put that on as our other items. We would discuss that proposal at agenda planning and see if we will put that on the agenda or not for future courses. Antigone?
The question that we were discussing, is that something I just wait till November to bring up?
We have a couple minutes. We could preview it, but I don't want to get into any details about it until I recommended that you spoke with the dean or there was another recommendation I had for you.
More content.
Right. Okay. So
sources.
You could bring that up briefly now and know that we will discuss this further in November as well after more conversations happen. I don't want all the conversations to happen within the next 10 minutes, but we do want to discuss this in the committee. Go ahead if you want to address it for a few minutes.
Thank you. In trying to assess a few things and how courses are handled with prerequisites, I'm retracting what I had put to the table to put in a prerequisite, accommodation that says or instructor approval, and trying to do some research on that topic where a course that has a prerequisite have a statement at the end of the prerequisite or instructor approval as like the last item for students to be able to be empowered to go and ask the question, because sometimes students don't know what they don't know, and with so many self-advising, somebody might think that, oh, I want to take this class because it fits well with my schedule with another class, but choose not to ask the question of can they do it because they think the prerequisite is locked in stone and that they can't even ask the question if they can maybe be allowed to be in the class. So I looked at other colleges, and so far between COD and Daly, they have that in a variety of their courses. And I thought maybe it might be to our advantage as a college. If instructors chose to do that, or chairs, departments were interested, maybe we should throw that on there, or maybe have it as a generic understanding that it can be done. I don't know. Just the new generation of students, I'm asking the question.
And I think as faculty, if we have a rationale and evidence that we could bring to the dean, that's where the conversation needs to begin. And hopefully with that conversation, there's an agreement upon that. I think seeing that other schools do it is great. You know my opinion, and I'll say it again in front of everyone here. I think the least amount of prerequisites, the better, although we don't want people in classes that they're going to fail. I have an opinion different than other people. I feel I want to give the opportunity to a student to either pass or fail themselves. Clearly with guidance, there are some exceptions to that prereq rule, but to me, the least the better for prereqs, knowing that some still have to be in place. But I think if faculty would speak with their deans with rationale, with evidence, that's where the conversation has to begin. And I am not opposed to adding that. We just have to come to a consensus, and it would be something we would vote on. So Antigone, we're going to put this on the agenda for November if anyone wants to have a brief comment now, but we're going to put the topic of can we add the prerequisite is this, or with consent of the instructor to some of the courses in her area. As long as there's no state regulations that say you have to have a prereq, I would be fine with that, or with removing the prereq if needed. But at this point, if Antigone, if you would speak with members of your department, with the dean, if there's a consensus amongst that, then you could put it in Watermark as a proposed revised course. It's a course form. It would be a proposed revision on a course form. But if this needs to be addressed in the curriculum committee, we will certainly do that in November. Anyone else have comments on prereq? Is this or consent of the instructor? We usually have that on our capstone course, consent of the instructor, to make sure that the student know what they're getting into.
Julianne, if I don't want to add that, I don't have to, right?
No.
Because for red and math, it's not going to work. But
No.
If everyone else wants to do it, I don't care. It's none of my business.
Yeah. No. It would just be on those that the faculty deemed was appropriate, right? Not on everything. All right. Any other items that want to be brought up? Or email us for the November other item list. Otherwise, I am going to take a motion to adjourn the curriculum committee meeting for October 3rd at 3:22 p.m. Motion to approve the adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you very much, everyone. Have a good evening. Thank you.